Here, and there we go. We'll make sure that everybody can hear and everything is working. Thanks so much for your patience. For a couple years, the last couple years, we've been saying, remember, it's about connection, not perfection. So we'll just revisit that phrase this morning. So good morning. It is good to see each and every one of you this morning, whether you are online or here in person. Welcome. I'm the Reverend Mary Geer, and I serve as the minister for this congregation, the Olympia Unitarian Universalist congregation. And my pronouns are she, her. Just a few logistics as we begin this morning. This service is being recorded, and it is being streamed to YouTube. For those in the sanctuary this morning, we invite you to turn the sound off on any devices that you have, because we all have devices these days, or many of us do, or turn them off altogether. We ask that you keep your nose and mouth covered by your mask while you are here. We'll take ours off to speak and then put them back on. Please note that you can see the subtitles on the screen, and you can view the chat on the screen when we open that up later in the service. And if you would find it of benefit to use one of our hearing assisting devices, please check in with anyone back at the tech table, and they can help you out. For those who are online, I invite you to find a candle or a chalice. In a moment, we can light them together as we light the chalice here in the sanctuary. Thank you all for being here today, connecting in whatever way you are, near or far.
Let's sing together. Out of the gray hymn book, hymn number 348, Guide My Feet. If you're joining us online, you can find the lyrics posted in the chat, and I invite you to rise in body and or spirit, and let's sing together.
Good morning. Welcome to the worship service of the Olympia Unitarian Universalist congregation. We are united by a covenant we have created. We envision a healthy and peaceful world where justice prevails. We commit to live out our mission to welcome and wonder, embrace and empower, bridge and become. Everyone is welcome here. Thank you for choosing to worship with us this morning. My name is Ann Colbury. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a member of the worship arts team. Returning to lead worship today is our member and guest speaker, Rylee Uhrich. Rylee currently works at the Interfaith Works homeless shelter as a social work intern while attending Louisiana State University for her degree. She has completed part of a Master's of Divinity at Star King and is a candidate for UU ordination. Rylee's career focus is on chaplaincy, but she is currently enjoying her work in homeless services and remains curious about where her call to ministry will lead her next. Also with us are our Reverend Mary Gear, Troy Fisher, our music director, and Reverend Sarah Lewis, Director of Community and Faith Development. OUUC is a multi-generational community, and children of all ages are welcome in the sanctuary with us. If you prefer, we offer nursery care and a story time program for kids just down the hall in the classroom wing. We are grateful to everyone helping with this morning's service. Thanks to the ushers and greeters, our terrific tech team, nursery staff, coffee servers in the kitchen, and all who contribute in so many ways. This morning and every Sunday morning, we join Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world in lighting a chalice, the symbol of our faith tradition. Oops, sorry, I jumped ahead. After the service, everyone will have the chance to discuss reflection questions offered by Rylee. We invite those online to go into a breakout room for a virtual reflection circle. For those in the sanctuary today, please feel free to stay for coffee, fellowship, and informal discussions in the Commons. We hope you will join the discussion wherever you are. Here are a few events coming up soon at OUUC. The OUUC Choir's first rehearsal for this church year is this Wednesday, September 7th at 7 p.m. If you've been thinking about joining the choir, this is a perfect time to dip your toes into the friendly waters of singing. Please join us on Wednesday. The OUUC's Men's Coffee Group is joining with Buildings and Grounds to host a dinner and work party at OUUC to tend to our beautiful grounds on this Friday, September 9th, from 6 to 8 p.m. There will be burgers and buns with all the fixings, salads, and plenty of cool drinks. Stop by to share some food, lend a hand, and build community. Our fall in-person, in-gathering worship service and water communion service will be next Sunday, September 11th at 10 a.m. Plan to attend in person or online as we mingle the waters of community. Then, after the service at 11:30, we'll have a blessing of the backpacks outside at OUUC. Students of all ages are invited to this ritual to celebrate the return to school. Bring your backpack, book bag, briefcase, or whatever you use to be blessed and receive a bag charm. We look forward to seeing you. There are many opportunities to stay connected to this congregation. Please check the website regularly. If you have questions or need help, please check in with a staff member. Now, let us open our minds and hearts as we prepare for worship. Welcome, everyone. It is good to be together.
You may have heard the sad news that OUUC member Carolyn Keck died this past week. Carolyn passed peacefully in her sleep on September 1st after returning home from a river tour of the capitals of Scandinavia. Carolyn Lois Mold was born on April 7th, 1937, in Columbus, Ohio, and moved with her family to Dayton, Ohio, as a young child. She graduated from high school in Dayton and from Northwestern University in 1959. 2 weeks after graduation from college, she married Charles Aiken Keck. Carolyn was a retired teacher and school counselor and a strong force for good in the Olympia community. Her longtime friend, Reverend Carol McKinley, said that Carolyn began her career teaching, then was the volunteer coordinator for the Olympia Schools District before becoming a school counselor. Reverend Carol recalls that Carolyn was part of a teacher exchange. So she taught in Australia for a year, while an Australian teacher came to Olympia. At the end of her career, Carolyn worked as a counselor at Capitol High School, a job that she loved. Carolyn was a devoted wife, mother, grandmother, and friend. Carolyn was a life partner to Charlie Keck, a longtime pediatrician for group health who was dedicated to public health, and a lifelong learner. Carolyn deeply grieved the loss of her beloved Charlie, who died of Lewy body dementia in January of 2021. Charlie and Carolyn celebrated 61 years together. Carolyn was a lover of the arts and of art history, serving as a docent for the Seattle Art Museum, visiting museums and attending plays and concerts with her sister, Barbara. Reverend Carol says that Carolyn's health concerns over the past few years led Carolyn to create her bucket list, which she tackled with the same determination and energy that she brought to everything that she did. She traveled and attended the Chautauqua Institution. Her last trip on a Scandinavian boat tour was on her bucket list. Carolyn joined OUUC in 2011 and served this community in so many ways. She was a regular donor to the annual auction, co-hosting Peruvian dinners with her sister and donating tours of the Seattle Art Museum. Carolyn was a longtime member of OUUC's caregivers group as she cared for Charlie through the end of his life. Carolyn was also a member of OUUC's Share the Plate team for several years. She was a strong advocate for recognition of small, local nonprofits, especially those that served children. For every 2-month period, we share our Sunday service offering with an organization in alignment with our vision for a loving, just, and healthy world. With Carolyn's support, Charlie was instrumental in founding the Olympia Free Clinic. And by coincidence, or perhaps by spirit, today we at OUUC begin a 2-month period of sharing our collection with the Olympia Free Clinic. May our giving be generous in recognition and in honor of Charlie and Carolyn and all they did to make this community loving, just, and healthy. Carolyn's loss, her death, is a sudden loss for her family and her friends and for our community, a reminder of the preciousness of life. May we be grateful for the presence of Carolyn and Charlie in our lives, and may we be grateful for life itself. Today, we especially hold in love and care Carolyn and Charlie's 3 children, Bruce, Doug, and Karen, their 2 grandchildren, Alexander and Michaela, and Carolyn's siblings, Robert Mold and Barbara Young. The family is planning a celebration of the lives of Charlie and Carolyn for later this month. Carolyn, may your strong and generous spirit be at peace. We'll hold a moment of silence together as we light a candle in memory of Carolyn Keck.
This morning and every Sunday morning, we join Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world in lighting a chalice, the symbol of our faith tradition. Please join me as we light our chalices together with these words by Francis Kosiar. We light this chalice today as a people dedicated to personal growth. May it burn away the oppressions we have been taught and glow instead with the humility of learning. May it reignite our dreams for a better world and kindle our joy for simple living. May its warmth extend into the forgotten alleyways of exclusion and bring us home to love, to welcoming, and to all the challenges, the questions, and the blessings of this beautiful path to becoming a beloved community.
This morning, in opening, I'll lead us in a centering practice that comes from generative somatics, and I was taught by Reverend Megan Visser. This is a chance to be present in the moment and present in arriving here together. If it feels comfortable, I invite you to close or relax your eyes and let your focus drift inward. Start with a breath. Notice that you have a body, and that body is right here with you now. Feel the length of your body down to the ends of your feet, to the top of your head. Or perhaps your awareness extends out even taller than you are. Just notice and take a breath into that space. Next, try feeling the width of your body from one side to the other. Maybe you feel the width of your hips or your shoulders, or maybe if your arms were reaching out, you could feel how you might be about as wide as you are tall. Or perhaps your awareness is even wider than that. Just notice and take a breath into that space. Finally, across all of the length and width that is you, notice that you are also deep. Your depth is everything between your front and your back. Feel the way your breath moves through you. Perhaps your awareness extends out in front or behind your body. Just notice and take a breath into that space. However you are joining us today, I welcome you here in this moment, in this body. Come, let us worship together.
Let's sing together again. Out of the gray hymn book, hymn number 30, Over My Head. If you're joining us online, you can find the lyrics posted in the chat. Let's rise in body and or spirit and sing together, Over My Head. Over my head, I hear music in the air. I hear music in the air. Over my head, I hear music in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Over my head, I hear singing in the air. trouble in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Over my head, I feel gladness in the air. Over my head, I feel gladness in the air. Over my head, I feel gladness in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Over my head, I see angels in the air. Over my head, I see angels in the air. Over my head, I see angels in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Thank you. Please be seated.
Good morning. The story today is about a water droplet named Higgins. But Higgins was no ordinary drop of water. Why, this was a drop with a dream. Because Higgins lived in a valley that had been lovely and lush and green with grass and flowers and trees. But it had been getting drier and drier. And the grass was becoming brown, the flowers were dying, the trees were drooping. And Higgins's dream was that the valley could be lovely again. But what could he do? He was just one drop of water. Higgins traveled about telling others about his dream. And they all thought, well, you're just a dreamer, Higgins. Get your head out of the clouds. There's nothing that single drops can do. But still, Higgins had the dream. And just thought and thought and thought, what could he do? And as he was thinking and thinking and thinking, he saw an old rusty bucket and got an idea. Why, if we all jumped in the bucket, he told the others, why, if a bunch of us did this, there would be enough water to at least water a few flowers and save them. Oh, you're just a dreamer, Higgins, the others said. Why, this is never going to work. But Higgins still believed and thought, I'm just going to have to do something to show them, something that shows that we can just try. And so Higgins got very determined and built up speed and went running, or whatever it is that water drops do to move, and built up speed and jumped and into the bucket. And there he was, just a drop in the bucket. And it was very lonely for a while, being the only drop in the bucket. But then a few others saw that, yes, the valley was dying and something needed to be done. And so a couple more said, I'm going to follow Higgins. And they also did whatever it is that droplets do to move. And they built up speed and they jumped in with Higgins. And then a few more. I'm going to do it too. And then more and more, until that bucket was full, and still others wanted to join in, so they found more buckets. And soon there were 2 buckets, and then 10 buckets, and then hundreds of buckets, thousands even of buckets, of water droplets that wanted to make a difference. And once all the buckets were there, a mighty breeze came along, a breeze at their backs, and it tipped over the buckets, and the water flowed down, and it became a stream that flowed through the valley, feeding all, till the valley was again lush and beautiful. All because of a drop with a dream. Higgins had a dream, and when many joined together, like a dream, like a whole bunch of buckets of water, and there's a breeze at your back, why then justice will flow like water and goodness like a mighty stream. Thus ends our story.
We came together this morning bringing everything that is in our lives. In this space, we share from our hearts what brings us joy and sorrow, what brings us worry and delight, what makes us afraid, and what makes us dance. Let's open our hearts to the complexity of life as we place stones in the water of community. You will hear a drumbeat as we share today. It brings into our awareness that our individual hearts beat, and together we create the heartbeat of our community. Right now, let's just take a big, deep breath together. And let's open our hearts to receive the complexity of all that is in our lives and our community today. We send our love and care to the family and friends of Carolyn Keck, who died unexpectedly this week. Carolyn was a generous and spirited presence at OUUC and in the wider community, and we will miss her. May she be at peace, and may her family and friends know peace this day. Linda Seltzer shares that she took a bad fall in her garage last week. She broke her right wrist, cracked her left ribs, and messed up her left knee. Ouch. She is getting the care she needs, she says, and is scheduled for the first of 2 surgeries this coming Wednesday. Linda, we share your hope for a successful surgery, and we send you healing thoughts and love as you mend. I invite those of you online to share from your heart by entering in the chat. This is a time to share all that you wish, joys and sorrows, and whatever else is shared from your heart. And I invite those in person to come forward if there's something you would like to bring into this community. You may place a stone in the water as you hold your sharing in your heart. I invite you to come up through the center aisle and return by the side aisles. We place a stone in the water for all that has been shared online, shared from the heart. And we'll place one more stone in the water for all that we hold in our hearts and that remains unspoken. Please join me in the spirit of prayer, reflection, and meditation. Spirit of life and love, great mystery from which we come and to which we return. Be with us this day. Be with us in our sorrow and in our delight. Be with us as we mourn and as we celebrate. Be with us as we weep, and be with us as we laugh. May we notice the beauty that surrounds us, this magnificent, majestic earth that we call home. Breathe in the beauty. May we notice the abundance that sustains us as we move from summer into fall. Breathe in the abundance. May we notice the love that holds us tight and true and never lets us go. Breathe in the love. In this moment, may we notice that we are here together. We are breathing. We are alive. With gratitude for these many gifts, we give thanks. Blessed be. Amen. Let's hold a moment of silence together.
I invite you to remain seated, and let's sing together out of the Teal Hymn Book, hymn number 1002, Comfort Me. Online you can find the words posted in the chat. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul.
Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Comfort me, please comfort me. Comfort me, oh my soul, won't you comfort me, please comfort me, oh my soul.
Our prayers and meditations deepen our gratitude for what we know as sacred in both our lives and in the world. Each Sunday we express our gratitude by joining together in service to our community and to something greater than ourselves. The offering supports the ongoing work of OUUC, which is also supported by your regular pledges. In addition, the offering supports an organization serving our community in harmony with our Unitarian Universalist values. Our Share the Plate recipient for September and October happens to be the Olympia Free Clinic, the organization dear to Carolyn and Charlie Keck. Here's a video about their important work.
Hello, OUUC. I'm Katie Mattinger, and I'm the Executive Director at the Olympia Free Clinic. Thank you so much for selecting us for Share the Plate and for the ongoing support that your community has provided over the years. The Share the Plate was the first presentation I was ever able to give as the Executive Director of the Olympia Free Clinic 4 years ago, and I have so appreciated the connection and ongoing support that we have felt with your community ever since then. For those of you who may not know, the Olympia Free Clinic is a volunteer-based nonprofit organization where uninsured and underinsured community members can access healthcare services at no cost to them. Nearly 100% of the care delivered at the Free Clinic is provided and administered by volunteers. Our patients come from a wide range of demographics, but the main thing they have in common is a barrier to accessing mainstream healthcare. Some of these barriers can include not having health insurance, not being able to afford care even if they have insurance, difficulty making or keeping appointments, a lack of transportation, or even social stigma. Your support will help us purchase medications, medical supplies, and equipment that lets us provide care to our patients so they can focus on healing and being healthy instead of worrying about the cost of their care. There are also many other ways to support the clinic. We're volunteer-based, and there are many different roles, both medical and non-medical, that need to be filled so that our community can continue to access care. To learn more, please visit the volunteer page on our website. Again, thank you so much for your generosity. We appreciate your support and look forward to working with you to care for the health of our community.
You may participate in the offering by donating online through the church website or by texting the number on your screen in just a moment. You could also mail a check to OUUC or place your offering in one of the baskets being passed. Our community partners continue to need our financial support, and our generosity really makes a difference. May the offering now be generously given, as it will be gratefully received. Thank you for your generosity. Today's reading is an excerpt from Nostalgia by former poet laureate Billy Collins. I am very fond of the period between 1815 and 1821. Europe trembled while we sat still for our portraits. And I would love to return to 1901, if only for a moment, time enough to wind up a music box and do a few dance steps. Or shoot me back to 1922, or 1941. Or at least, let me recapture the serenity of last month, when we picked berries and glided through afternoons in a canoe. Even this morning would be an improvement over the present. I was in the garden then, surrounded by the hum of bees and the Latin names of flowers, watching the early light flash off the slanted windows of the greenhouse and silver the limbs on the rows of dark hemlocks. As usual, I was thinking about the moments of the past, letting my memory rush over them like water rushing over the stones on the bottom of a stream. I was even thinking a little about the future, that place where people are doing a dance we can't even imagine, a dance whose name we can only guess. This ends our reading.
Last spring, I began planning a campout. I had hosted one just like it in the same location 5 years ago and was feeling excited to reconnect with friends and enjoy some time by the river. My memory of the last campout fueled me. I wanted this one to be the same, as good as the good old times. I hoped that my friends would do whatever was needed to cancel any competing plans, travel the extra distance from their new homes in order to be there. I felt my longing for that same campout so strongly. Surely they must also yearn to reconnect in those same ways. As the planning wore on and the logistics piled up, I generously adapted my expectations. I was willing to have a smaller group. After all, the risk of COVID is still real. I was willing to accept that weather was an unknown and I couldn't plan for sun. I could even accept that some friends wouldn't be there, or that they would only come out for an afternoon. I was doing my best to be flexible and realistic, but simultaneously I was trying to recreate my memory. The funny thing is that the campout from 5 years ago was actually a bit of a mess. I accidentally sent the wrong location information to some of the friends, and they ended up at 2 different campgrounds 4-hour drive away from each other. I learned a lot from that past experience, and as I planned this year's trip, I was able to avoid those same mistakes. I can think about the past trip and remember the bugs and the forgotten kitchen necessities and other realities. But the feeling that was washing over me and motivating me to plan this year's trip was not interested in logistics or details. I was fueled by nostalgia. Nostalgia is best described by poetry, because it is not about accurate memory. It is about yearning and connection. Sometimes nostalgia clouds my vision. Whether I remember fun or hard experiences, they can loom large, blocking out information in the present. As I planned the campout this summer, I felt like I was simultaneously planning 2 trips, one based on the current information I had for 2022, and the other was an idealized version. There are never any bugs on an imaginary camping trip. Konstantin Sedekidis and colleagues have done many years of psychological study on the topic of nostalgia. Journalist John Tierney summarizes their research findings this way. Nostalgia has been shown to counteract loneliness, boredom, and anxiety. It makes people more generous to strangers and more tolerant of outsiders. Couples feel closer and look happier when they're sharing nostalgic memories. On cold days or in cold rooms, people use nostalgia to literally feel warmer. So nostalgia is like an internal recharging system that we have for our outlook on life. When we engage in nostalgia, we can access reserves that help us to cope with difficulty. Our actual body temperature rises slightly, making the emotional experience of a warm glow into a physical sensation. It is easy to fall into the trap of comparisons and grass is always greener on the other side thinking. When comparing the past and the present, but according to these researchers, the benefits of nostalgia do not come from comparing the past and present. The benefits come from savoring past experiences. There is no actual door that we can walk through into the past. Nostalgia is instead like a window through which we can look deeply into the past and remember what we have experienced and felt. Moments of nostalgia may be a chance to pause, and connecting with our memories in this way can give us more emotional fortitude to engage in the present. Nostalgia offers us a chance to integrate past experiences and make new meaning from them, some of which may inform what we are facing in the present. I knew that my nostalgia for a past camping trip was about craving connection. That helped me show up to this year's trip with a clear intention around prioritizing relaxing time together with friends. I could have prioritized going for a hike or reading a book, but I knew what I wanted. By taking the emotional guidance of my memories and being willing to work with the real logistics on hand this year, I was able to focus on having the experiences I wanted, and in doing so, I made a new memory that I will be able to savor in the future. That's the funny thing about memories. Whatever we're doing now will inevitably be a memory we can look back on. And here we are, at the beginning of the church year, and for many perhaps also at the beginning of a school year. Sometimes it seems as though we're always supposed to be excited at the beginning of something, as though that moment of potential is supposed to be the best part. While that is sometimes true, it's also sometimes important to grieve at the beginning, to move through sadness and frustration to acceptance. How does remembering our past experiences shape how we show up to this season of beginnings? Perhaps some of us yearn for things to go back to how they were in one past or another. Perhaps some of us are thinking about how things will be uncomfortably different, perhaps comparing. Sometimes it is at the moment of beginning something that our memories of past versions of that same thing weigh the heaviest on our minds and hearts. Beginning can also be scary. It takes effort to go forward into the mystery of the future. It can seem as though it would be so much easier if it was just the same as the past. But then, actually, maybe not the same, because of course there are no bugs invited on the campouts when I plan them. As the camping trip I had planned grew closer, I wrestled more actively with the grief of not being able to go back to my fond memories. 5 days before the trip, a friend who I had been very excited to see tested positive for COVID and was unable to attend. Suddenly, I realized that even when I had tried to accept that this trip wouldn't be the same as the past one, I had still put out a set of expectations of how it would go. I felt grief in that moment and a total loss of control. At this time of big changes in the world, ongoing pandemic, climate change, and political uncertainty, I keep thinking that somehow I must have learned to let go more easily. In truth, it still hurts every time when something I want and am expecting doesn't happen. But then, full of uncertainty as I was, I packed up my tent and food and went camping. We had fun. It was not the same as 5 years ago, nor was it exactly what I had planned, and yet it was precisely what could and needed to happen at that time. About halfway through the trip, I realized that I was happy to be there. and that the grief that I had been carrying lightened. I couldn't go back to the way things had been, but ultimately, being here and now with people I care about is a good place to be. There is no door into the past. We cannot go back. But what we remember and have learned is a foundation for what we create now. Even as we face an increasingly uncertain future, we can be fueled by our experiences from the past. When we engage nostalgia as an intentional practice, we can connect to the rich poetry of our lives. There is a beauty and a wisdom that pours out from memory, which nourishes what we build in the present moment. And here at OUUC, as we journey together into the coming church year with a newly installed minister and a recently celebrated 70th anniversary, how do looking to the future and the past balance each other? How can the poetry of remembered pasts nourish our future? The past is not a blueprint for how we move forward, but it is a resource, an important story, and the feeling of a warm glow. I look forward to creating more memories here with all of you at OUUC so that later we can tell each other stories of how things were back in 2022. Let's pause together for a moment of remembering.
Let's sing together our closing song, which is hymn number 95, There is More Love Somewhere. Hymn number 95 out of the gray hymnal. If you're joining us online, you can, of course, find the lyrics posted in the chat. And I invite you to rise in body and our spirit. Let's sing one more time together.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. And I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. More hope. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. And I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. More peace. There is more peace, and it's somewhere. Yes, there is more peace somewhere. And I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. Joy. There is more joy somewhere. Yes, there is more joy somewhere. And I'm gonna keep on till I find it, till I find it. There is more joy somewhere.
Remain standing in the sanctuary as we come to a close today. Online reflection groups will gather next, and there will be refreshments in the commons for those in person. If you have a chalice or candle, please join me as we extinguish our chalice with words adapted from Vanessa Williams. Like the flame of the chalice, May the flame in our hearts burn, remaining unextinguished. May it ignite our energies, our drive, and our resolve to dream, to build, and to live into the world, that good which exists for now only in our imaginings. May we move in peace.
Let's join together in singing our unison benediction. This will be our last time to sing this one, and next week we'll start a new benediction for the coming year. You can find the lyrics posted in the chat.
We are part of the web of life. We are part